Well, it's Saturday morning. Kids are going to go drive their cars around, but just wanted to show you guys this week's video. I filmed about 2.5 days, 4 days last week of work. So it's kind of a day in the life, but it takes place over about 3 days. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Like, comment, subscribe. We're on Instagram. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok. And also, if anybody wants to donate to the channel, that'd be much appreciated. Just help pay for some of the stuff. There is a PayPal link down below. Thank you. Well, we have a John Deere 350G. I think this is an IT4. Oh no, it's not. It's a Final 4 because it's got DEF. I'm not really sure. Let's check out the serial number here. So F. So it is a Final 4. Got a complaint of a DPF problem, so I'm not really sure what that is, but it also looks like there's some kind of hydraulic leak here because something dripped through the tracks and down. It's not real wet. Maybe it's fuel. The fuel tank's right here, so maybe they spilled some fuel or something when they filled it up. But let me look and see what I come up with, and I'll let you guys know. Looks like they just did a service. They didn't mark the filters, but all the filters look like they've just been replaced recently. So maybe that's what that is. And somebody also put pig mat down there, so I don't see a leak, so it's probably when they change the filters. Before I hook up Service Advisor or start it or anything, I like to just do a visual inspection, make sure there's nothing blaringly obvious, like a wire harness broke or unplugged or a sensor messed up or a big hole somewhere. You know, you never know. I don't think this engine's been running today because the turbo's cold. The DPF's all cold, so I don't see anything. It looks like this harness was recently replaced. It's a little dusty up here, but it looks pretty new. It just goes to right. There's a 12-pin plug right there. So that looks like it's been replaced. I don't see anything. So let's hook up Service Advisor and see what codes we got. Get the laptop out. You can do it through the monitor, but I feel like it's going to need some troubleshooting, so that's why I got the laptop out. So Service Advisor is just, it's just the Next IQ. It says it right on it, Next IQ Technologies. Somebody told me, I don't know if this is true, that they lock these, John Deere locks these, so you can't use this on anything except a Deere, and you can't use the Next IQ on these. I don't know if that's true or not. If somebody knows, let me know in the comments. So on these style machines, it's in the fuse panel, the cover's just right there. The Service Advisor port's right there. On the older machines, you have to, it's in the panel behind the cab, so you have to, it's kind of a pain in the butt because you have to open this door because it latches. We got some lights. That looks like the regen light flashing there. Yellow's probably a code, and that red's probably regen or derate. I'm not 100% sure, but I am offline. So see how this X here, this cloud with the X's, that means I'm offline. I don't really want to get out the hook up the Wi-Fi on the computer or on the phone. So then it here says type in your search terms, pin or machine. So we're gonna do 350 G, G, and then LC because it's an excavator. LC's long carriage, and then you hit search. If I can do it, and then it should bring up a whole bunch of models, and then we can pick the one that it is. So here we go. So 350 GLC excavator. So this is a D, and then this is a C, but this machine is an F. So then you click down here where it says see all models, and then you look for F right here. So this is our serial number break. So start new context, and then diagnose or diagnostics, and then you got to check this. So mine is a version 2, so mine's already like this, but there's a bunch of different drop downs. So Bluetooth, version 3, USB, but mine's a 2. So then connect, it should initialize the connection, and obviously the key has to be on, and then you should see the box. See how the orange light's on? Sometimes it'll flash, but that means it's communicating. Okay, so we have 5 codes. EGR valve desired and actual position mismatched, engine coolant level alarm switch activated. That's probably an old code because this one had a coolant surge tank issue, but the coolant level's fine, so that's probably just an old code. And then engine power derate, EGR valve desired and actual position mismatch during a learn, calculated soot load level moderately high. So I'm going to check that one because that one's active. The D-rate's active too, but that won't take you anywhere. That's just a kind of a nuisance code. So I'm gonna check this calculated soot load code and see where that takes me. So it's telling me, are there any other DTCs other than those 3 active or stored? And there are. So it's telling me to troubleshoot those first. So then the next one I'm gonna take is this one here, EGR valve desired and actual position mismatch, because it's stored 126 times. So it's basically telling me to ignore these 2 codes and to check anything else first. So we're gonna go to this one here and see what we come up with. Doing some more reading on Service Advisor, it's telling me to check out the EGR valve. So this is a 6090, so John Deere 6090, which means it's a 6-cylinder, 9-liter is what 6090 means. So let me just show you around here a little bit. So that is the air throttle, and a lot of people mistake that as the EGR valve. That is not the EGR valve, that is the air throttle. Controls how much air goes into the intake. The EGR valve is right there. So there's underneath this cover, there's another, it looks like a valve, but it's a Venturi. It mixes the EGR to go into the intake. But some people mistake that as well, but that is not the EGR valve. EGR valve is right there, and it's 3 bolts, and it's like a diamond shape. And then that right there would be the EGR cooler. You can see that underneath it. First thing I like to do is just check the plug in case it's not loose, or see if there's any kind of a broken wire. Sometimes there's a broken wire or something right here. The little lock guy, that's kind of weird right there. The little lock guy isn't locked. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But then I like to unplug it and just check, see if there's anything. So I like to pop these little locks off just to see, because sometimes there could be like a connector. Whoops, it just shattered. That thing's real fragile. I have another one of those in my truck, so I'm gonna replace this. But I like to see, and I mean, it is right next to the exhaust, so it's super brittle. But I've seen where these pins are like, they're not seated all the way. And I like to push on them just to make sure. I've seen where one pin will be hanging down back in here, and that could be a problem. I don't feel anything in here, so I'm gonna see if I see anything else here. I'll replace that. I have one of those with me. All right, so we're on the back of the truck because I got my hand all dirty, so I didn't want to grab the camera. But it's not stuck, but it's pretty dirty. That's what that little spot is. I touched it and it's not stuck. Sometimes they'll get stuck closed or stuck open. So it says to clean it and perform a harness mode test. So I'm gonna clean this up, clean the connector, and then I'm gonna replace that connector that I broke. Well, I got the Deutsch connector kit out, but I don't have one. I thought I did. I have a yellow and a gray. So if you're not sure, the color is like the lock key, so it has to be red because it won't fit in there. It won't lock. So I'll have to just put it back, and I'll have to order another one at some point. What I have done too is, like, you can change the other side. So like if it's got a connector and you only have one, you can change the other side of it to match. I've done that before, but I can't do that because this one's part of the valve. So let's go put the valve back on and see what happens. I like to check in here because you can have an EGR cooler starting to fail but not having any issues yet, and it maybe be a little bit wet in here. But this one's all dry. This one seems to be okay. I don't think this one's failing. Okay, so we're reconnected here. We go into tests, and then you gotta click right here. That's the serial number for the machine, or for the engine, and then it's in alphabetical order, so harness mode test should be right here. Harness diagnostic mode tests. Click on that, and then next. So it's going to test. It basically, what it does is it collects everything, so like anything on the CAN bus system, it'll cycle it basically. So I just gotta let it go and see what happens. Left off was the harness mode test on that John Deere 350. So I ran a regen to clear the soot level code. The regen ran, everything passed. It was fine. I was sitting there. The operators took the machine to run it, and I was doing my paperwork, it's not paper, but it's on the phone basically. It's basically my service report. I was doing that, and the operator came over and said, hey, the code came back. It flashed, and then it went back off. So the EGR valve code came back. So I checked in the monitor. I didn't hook up ServiceVise or anything, and it was the same code. So it was stored 126 times, if you saw that. So the EGR valve needed to be replaced. So then I spent the rest of the afternoon. I mean, it was already like 2:30 by that point. So I spent the rest of the time, I talked to the boss, looked up parts, and then I had to find that connector. So I talked to our guy at the local John Deere dealer, our regular parts guy. He found the connector part number for me. So he ordered the parts, and then that was the day. It was like 3 o'clock already, and I was probably about 2 hours from home. So I went home from there. This is Tuesday morning, here sitting at the local John Deere dealer. They don't open until 7. It's about 6:40. I usually get here pretty early. Regular parts guy is usually here, but I don't like to bother him before 7 because I remember being a parts guy and people coming in before we opened and trying to bother you. So I wait till 7. So here, pick up the EGR valve and that connector. They had the connector at the John Deere Parts Depot in Dallas. So we are gonna go back out to that machine this morning. I'm gonna replace the EGR valve and shouldn't need to do a regen again. The set level should be fine. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see when we get there and then see what else we got for the rest of the day. Okay, so we got 2 gaskets. There's 2 of them there taped to the box. We got the connector. Focus, there we go. Connector, there's the part number 57M9786. It's a 6-pin amp seal with a red lock. And then we got the EGR valve down here in the box. EGR valve. It says Berg Warner. I never noticed they were made by Berg Warner. So let's go install this. It is about an hour-and-a-half drive. So let's see what's next. So it's a little bit warm this morning. The turbo is warm, but not bad enough that I can't put my hand on it. So it shouldn't be too bad. So here's a good indication if something's been changed before. So see how this air throttle is raw metal and isn't painted? It's probably been changed. But like, look at the EGR valve, still painted yellow. And the EGR cooler is still painted yellow, so it's probably not been changed. But one thing I will say, sometimes the John Deere stuff comes in green, so if you got a John Deere engine with a green part on it, it could still be original, or it could be replaced. I've seen replacement parts be painted green, or I've seen like EGR valves come green on a brand new tractor. I've seen that before, so that can happen. It mostly happens on industrial engines, but it can happen on equipment engines. So see how it's sticking now? So when you push on it, it moves, but then it just had a spot where it was stuck. Yep, see? It's probably why the problem, see? That's stuck. This can be a little tricky just because you gotta line everything up. You got this flange, 2 gaskets, the valve, and then you gotta hit the studs over here back in the machine. So before I give it back to them, I like to start it just to make sure that it doesn't throw any codes right away or anything, because you could accidentally left something unplugged or something. So let's see what happens when we start it. So check maintenance items. This is like filters and preventative maintenance. They probably haven't reset the things, but there's no lights or anything. Battery light is on, but it's probably because I had the key on earlier. So let's make sure that it's charging, and then let's just run it. Oh, see, the battery light went off, so then it was just low, but I don't have any codes or anything. Let's run it a little bit and see what happens. All right, so this one's done. Let's clean up the tools here. There's not very much, and let's call the boss and see what's next. If you guys don't have a cooler like this, I mean, this one's a Yukon, but just like a hard-sided cooler, man, you guys need to get one, because like it's still got, I put this ice in there yesterday morning. Today's Tuesday. It's probably about 10 o'clock, and I put this in there yesterday at 7, and it still has ice. And it's been about 80 degrees today. So I would recommend one for sure. They're not cheap, but get one. You also can't be too safe here, because I've heard about people stealing these things. So I was talking to the welder. He's got a Yeti, and he's like, make sure you lock that thing up. So I got these little clamps on Amazon. I got 2 of them. There was like a 2-pack, and I just use a lock, and this chain is attached to this chain right here. So it's all done. They're running it back over there somewhere, so it's fine. Talk to the boss. Got to go to Greenville. Is it Greenville or Greenville? I don't know. This is Wiley. If anybody knows where that's at, it's off of State Highway 78. So that's about 40 minutes east from here. It was in, I think it was a 470. He told me the excavator number, but he didn't say. He told me the equipment number, but he didn't say what size machine it is. So I think it's 470. AC not blowing cold, so I gotta check that one out. But first, I'm gonna do my time card because sometimes I'll forget. Like, we turn our time cards in Monday. I'm usually pretty good about doing them. As soon as I finish the job, I'll fill out the time card. But there's been times where I forgot, and then we turn them in Monday for the last week. We turn it in Monday, and I've been like, what did I do Tuesday? Like, look at my time card, and it's like I only have Mondays filled out, and it's like the next week, and I can't remember anything what I did. So I'm gonna fill that out, and then head east. It's about a 40-minute drive, so see what the next one takes. Quick stop here at Bucky's, Roy City. It's right off the highway, which is nice, but it's kind of windy out here. I think there's a storm blowing in. Just restock my ice chest here. I usually like to keep a bunch of waters in here. I have, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I usually keep about 10 waters in here. I keep an extra case of water right here. We have them by the case at the shop, so I just grab an empty case or a full case when I have a chance. So just keep it in there, just because you never know when you need water, where you need water at. So the first thing you check on a 470 is to make sure it's got an AC belt. A lot of times they break and fall off. And then the second thing is I'm going to check the code. It has air conditioning code 51. So I don't know what that is, so let me go look it up. And couldn't film that one because the crew's working. You guys can see. The crew's working right there. And then you just need the machine back. It's really loud. But I checked. First thing you check on those is the belt, because it's just a V-belt that runs the compressor. A lot of times the belts just break and they're laying down in there. That one had the belt on it. So I checked for a code, and the monitor had code 51, which I looked up on the computer, and code 51 was the high-low switch cycling. So I checked the high-low switch and it was fine. So then I threw the manifold gauges on, and it was completely empty. It only had like 2 pounds of refrigerant in it. So I checked, and you could see the leak. I mean, sometimes excavators are really hard to find AC leaks. Excavators and dozers, I think, are probably the hardest because of the way they route the lines. But you could see right off the compressor, the line from the compressor over to the condenser, you could see where it was leaking at the crimp, and there was oil all the way down the line. So it needs that line. So it's about lunchtime, so I'm gonna look up the parts, see what I need, eat lunch, and then see what's next. All right, back at the shop. Got these cutting edges loaded up, some bolts. Gotta go put these on. I think it's a 624, 644, I don't remember. And then there's an excavator that's got an oil leak. This last job site's pretty close to my house, so that'll be the day. All right, so this 350 here, it's leaking right here from the final drive. I'm gonna make sure it's not a hose, but I think this motor's been leaking a little bit. You can see oil on the tracks. These things are worn out. Look at that. So I just gotta get these off. It's usually not that bad. Usually it takes more time to flip them because you gotta clean them, but I got brand new ones, so I don't gotta clean anything really. All done. So just gotta get my blocks back and clean up and get out of here. So here's a quick trick too. This little jack is super handy for doing cutting edges, flipping them or anything. These things, I think, this one was 100 when I bought it, but I think they're like 130 now at Harbor Freight. But this thing is perfect for doing that. It's super low profile, so if you can't get height on the bucket, you can get underneath there. So Fresh cutting edges. There's the old ones. Let's load these up and clean up and get out of here. Wednesday morning. It's about 7 o'clock, so just fueling up here for the day. Got to go put the 870 together that we took apart on Monday morning. So if you guys don't know, 870G excavators, they're so big that you have to pull the stick to be able to transport them. So we got to go put the stick back on that this morning so they can run that. And then right up the road from that, there's another job site. There is a John Deere 350 with a broken track pin. So he's not really our parts guy, but our runner guy is going to bring me the parts out there. So then we got to go do that. I'm working with the John Deere tech today, so I'll try to film as much as I can. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to film. So let's see how the day goes. Well, there it is. So there's the stick, there's the machine. Gotta put the stick back on it. So on this particular one, you have to pull the stack, and then all of them, there's a handrail that goes right there you have to take off. But on the two newer ones, the stacks are too tall, so they gotta come off also. So we're trying to line up the stick, but right now the stick is, it's like this. It's crooked. I don't know if you can tell, but it's not straight, so the hole's not gonna line up. You can see the pin right there we're trying to get in. So then there's these two shims you gotta also install. So he's on the other excavator and he's gonna try to roll this just enough and push those blocks down a little bit. Got the pin in. He's gonna push it. It's in the bushing on the stick. This is usually honestly the hardest part, is trying to get this thing square. Just got this all pinned up. These are like little blocks with bleeders in them, so then we're just bleeding the pressure on both sides, because there's about 3 gallons of oil on each side of these. Still draining. These things take forever to drain. But so then that one's still loose because I got to set that angle, and then that hose goes up there, and then we have to pin this in because you have to lift it up pretty high to get that pin in. And these are just like blocks with it's got a little bleeder in it. And that's pretty much it. These aren't too bad. Sometimes this pin's kind of hard to get in. Once you get the stick the right dimension, it's pretty easy. Like you can see right here, like it's parallel. Sometimes it'll be kicked one way or the other. That's what's hard. The worst part is getting that pin in sometimes and getting the stick just square, but it's not that bad. It doesn't take that long. So this one's ready to go. I set it up for the fuel guys to check the oil. Well, she broke. It gets packed in the track rail right there, in the track chain, and then it causes the track tension to go crazy, and then it just breaks the pin. It's broken, and then I'll find the other half of it. All done, back together. So on this one, you set track tension right through there. There's a 15/16. You tighten that up, and then you measure from here to here, but you power down and you lift this up in the air, and you measure the sag from right here in the middle to the top. It should be, this particular 350 should be 13 3/8 to 15 inches. So it's only about noon, so let me see what's next for the day.